Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. Whatever you allow to dominate your mind will eventually shape the circumstances of your life. Negative thinking is not just a bad habit. It is a silent assassin. It operates in the shadows of your consciousness, feeding off your fears, your insecurities, your disappointments. And the tragedy is, most people never even realize that their greatest enemy is not out there in the world. It's right between their ears. A man can have talent. A woman can have vision. But if the mind is cluttered with doubt, with fear, with limiting beliefs, then none of it matters. You will talk yourself out of opportunities. You will talk yourself out of relationships. You will even talk yourself out of happiness. Not because you lack the potential to achieve it, but because you've allowed your mind to be infected by thoughts that are not worthy of the life you're trying to build. Let me make it plain. Negative thinking is a form of self-sabotage. It disguises itself as realism. It pretends to be wisdom. It says things like, "Don't get your hopes up," or "You're not good enough," or "That's impossible for someone like you." But beneath that mask is nothing but fear, and fear is a liar. It will shrink your vision. It will kill your drive. It will paralyze your purpose. You must declare war on negative thoughts. You must stop entertaining every idea that enters your mind simply because it came from you. Not all thoughts are true. Not all thoughts are helpful. Just because a thought visits doesn't mean you have to invite it in and serve it dinner. Some thoughts need to be rejected on sight. Some beliefs need to be thrown out like garbage. Because that's what they are, mental garbage collected from past pain, failure, criticism, or fear. The moment you begin to question your negative thoughts, you weaken their power. The moment you begin to speak against them, to replace them with thoughts of confidence, faith, and possibility, you begin to take control of your life. Life will not magically become easier, but it will feel lighter, because your mind is no longer dragging you down like an anchor. Your mind is a powerful tool, but an undisciplined mind is a dangerous one. If you do not train it, it will turn on you. It will create problems that don't exist. It will exaggerate your failures and downplay your victories. It will keep replaying old wounds until you start believing that you are broken beyond repair. But you are not broken. You are not helpless. You are powerful when you choose to be. And let me tell you, this positive thinking is not fantasy. It is strategy. It is not about ignoring reality. It's about taking control of the one thing you can always govern: your attitude, your perspective, your internal dialogue. It's about choosing to believe in possibilities, even when everything around you screams limitations. You cannot allow your mind to wander without supervision. Every time you let a negative thought take root, you give it permission to shape your future. You give it space to grow. And if you feed it long enough, it becomes your reality. But just as easily, you can starve it. You can interrupt it. You can say, "No, that's not my story. That's not the future I'm building. That's not who I am becoming." The quality of your thoughts will determine the quality of your emotions. The quality of your emotions will shape the quality of your decisions. And your decisions are the bridge between your current life and the life you desire. You can change your life, but not until you change your mind. Not until you clean out the self-doubt. Not until you let go of the past. Not until you stop expecting failure and start preparing for success. You don't need to have it all figured out to move forward. You don't need perfect circumstances to begin. You only need a committed mind. A mind that is determined to think better, to think stronger, to think higher. Because a better life doesn't start with a new job, or a new relationship, or more money. A better life starts with better thinking. The next time you feel discouraged, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me or stopping me? Choose again. Choose thoughts that build, not break. Thoughts that empower, not drain. Thoughts that move you toward your purpose, not away from it. This is not easy work, but it is the most important work you'll ever do. Because when you kill negative thinking, you free yourself. You release the weight you've been carrying. You see possibilities where there used to be problems. You take action where you used to hesitate. You start walking with boldness, confidence, and peace. And it is then, and only then, that life begins to feel easier. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your mind is the silent architect of your entire reality. Everything you experience in life, success or failure, happiness or despair, love or loneliness, begins not with what happens outside of you, but with what takes place inside your mind. Your thoughts, beliefs, interpretations, and expectations are not passive observations. They are powerful forces shaping every action you take and every emotion you feel. If your mind is clouded by negativity, self-doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs, then your reality will mirror that internal confusion and struggle. But if your mind is trained, focused, and filled with empowering thoughts, you will begin to see a world of opportunity where others only see obstacles. This isn't philosophy or fantasy, it's reality. Look around. Two people can face the same problem, yet one collapses under pressure while the other finds a solution and rises stronger. The difference is not in the situation. It's in how their mind interprets and responds to it. One saw defeat, the other saw development. One froze in fear, the other stepped forward in faith. That's the power of the mind. Your inner world defines how you interpret the outer world, and this interpretation becomes the filter through which you live your life. If your mind constantly tells you that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough, you'll subconsciously reject opportunities that contradict that belief. If you expect failure, you won't even try. If you assume rejection, you won't reach out. But the moment you begin to shift your thinking, the moment you decide to believe that you're capable, worthy, and deserving, everything changes. You start to take different actions. You begin to attract different people. You create momentum. The world around you begins to reflect the strength that's now building within you. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about understanding that you always have a choice to dwell in limitation or to rise with possibility. You don't have to wait for your circumstances to change. Change your mindset, and your circumstances will begin to follow. Guard your thoughts. Feed your mind with strength, faith, clarity, and vision. Because once you learn to control your mind, you gain the power to control your future. Fear and doubt are the silent killers of dreams. They don't come screaming into your life like a storm. They creep in quietly, whispering thoughts of, what if, and you can't. They disguise themselves as logic, as caution, as self-preservation. But the truth is, they are enemies of progress. They plant hesitation where action is needed. They magnify your flaws and minimize your strengths. And if you let them take root, they will run your life from the shadows. Most people never reach their potential not because they lack talent, but because they believe the lies that fear and doubt fed them. Fear convinces you that failure is fatal, that if you try and fall, you'll never recover. It makes the unknown look dangerous, when in fact, the unknown often holds your greatest opportunities. Doubt tells you that others are better, smarter, more prepared. It makes you second-guess your ideas, delay your decisions, and shrink your goals to match your insecurities. Together, fear and doubt keep you exactly where you are, even when you know deep down you were made for more. What's tragic is that these enemies live in the mind. They aren't real physical barriers. They don't have hands to stop you or walls to block your path. They only have the power you give them. And too often, we feed them. We feed them with overthinking, with comparing ourselves to others, with reliving past mistakes, and predicting worst-case scenarios. Every time you allow fear and doubt to decide for you, you lose a piece of your confidence. You train yourself to expect failure instead of preparing for success. The irony is that most of what we fear never actually happens. Most of what we doubt ourselves over has already been overcome by someone with less skill, less knowledge, but more courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to be controlled by it. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the commitment to move forward despite it. You have a choice. You can feed your fear, or you can feed your faith. You can let doubt dominate your decisions, or you can trust in your ability to figure things out as you go. You don't need to be fearless to succeed. You just need to stop giving fear and doubt more attention than they deserve. Stop asking them for permission. They'll never give it. The most successful people you admire have felt fear. They've questioned themselves, but they acted anyway. They understood that action is the antidote. That bold step silenced fear faster than positive thinking ever could, because nothing kills doubt like doing the very thing you were afraid of. The truth is, your next level of growth, success, peace, and power lies on the other side of fear. But you will never reach it if you keep waiting to feel ready. You are ready now, not because you have all the answers, but because you're willing to take the first step. That's all it takes, a step forward in faith, a step away from fear, a decision that you are no longer going to let invisible enemies run a life that is meant to be lived fully. The time has come to silence the voices of fear and doubt. Replace them with vision, with purpose, with faith. Not just faith in something bigger, but faith in yourself. That you can try, fail, rise, and grow. That you are worthy of success. That you are capable of building the life you dream about. The only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the story you keep telling yourself. So rewrite it. Make it stronger. Make it bolder. Because the enemy is not out there. It's the fear and doubt inside you. And today is the day you decide they don't get to win anymore. Every problem you face in life takes on the size and weight you assign to it through your mindset. A negative mind doesn't just see a challenge. It sees a crisis. It doesn't just see a delay. It sees a dead end. The real danger is not always the situation itself, but how your mind interprets and amplifies it. A negative mind will take a small inconvenience and turn it into a personal failure. It will take a temporary setback and treat it like a permanent defeat. And the more you dwell on that negativity, the more distorted your perception becomes. When your mindset is focused on what's wrong, what's missing, or what could go wrong, every issue feels heavier. The brain starts scanning for proof of disaster. It begins to overlook solutions and instead fixates on worst-case scenarios. You start overanalyzing, overreacting, and overcomplicating things that may have simple answers. The problem grows, not because it actually changed, but because your mental lens made it appear larger, more threatening, and more permanent than it truly is. This is the power and the danger of your mind. When negative thoughts dominate your thinking, you no longer see the problem clearly. You see it through a fog of fear, doubt, anger, and helplessness. That fog blinds you from your own resourcefulness. You forget how capable you really are. You stop thinking creatively. You start reacting emotionally. And in that state, even the most manageable challenge becomes a mountain. The negative mind is addicted to catastrophizing. It loves to exaggerate outcomes, assume failure, and feed off hopelessness. And once you fall into that loop, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't try as hard because you expect it to go wrong. You hesitate, procrastinate, and back away. Not because the problem is too big, but because your mind convinced you that you're too small. But the opposite is also true. A calm, focused, empowered mind can shrink even the biggest problem into a stepping stone. The same challenge seen through a different lens reveals solutions. You begin asking better questions instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of, "This is impossible." You think, "What's one thing I can do right now to move forward?" Your mindset is the filter through which you process life. It doesn't change the reality, but it absolutely changes your ability to handle it. A negative mindset dims your vision. A strong mindset sharpens it. That's why two people can face the exact same problem. One collapses, the other grows. One panics, the other plans. It's not about the problem. It's about the mental frame surrounding it. You don't need to eliminate all your problems to feel better. You need to eliminate the belief that every problem is a personal curse. You need to step outside of the storm and look at things with perspective. You need to stop feeding negativity with more negative thoughts. Because when you train your mind to remain centered, clear, and focused, even when life is chaotic, you become unshakable. You won't always have control over what life throws at you, but you always have control over how you think about it, and that control is your power. Choose to step away from the noise of negativity. Choose to see the problem for what it is, not bigger, not smaller, but manageable. The more clarity you bring to your thinking, the more easily you'll navigate the storm. And one day, you'll look back and realize the problem was never as big as your negative mind made it seem. It was your thinking that needed to change. And once it did, everything else became possible. What you think, feel, and believe does not just stay inside you. It radiates outward and shapes the energy you project into the world. You may not see it, but everyone around you can sense it. And more importantly, life responds to it. If you walk through the world carrying fear, bitterness, doubt, or resentment, you will find yourself constantly surrounded by situations and people that seem to validate those emotions. You'll attract experiences that reflect the exact energy you are putting out. This is not a matter of superstition or magic. It's about the subconscious signals you emit and the behavior patterns that arise from them. If you constantly expect rejection, you'll speak in ways that create distance. If you expect failure, you'll hesitate when you need to act boldly. If you see the world as unfriendly or unfair, you'll interact with it defensively, suspiciously, or with low enthusiasm. And the world will mirror that back to you. People will respond to your energy long before they respond to your words. Whether you realize it or not, your thoughts and feelings influence your posture, your tone, your body language, your timing, all the subtle cues that shape how others perceive and engage with you. The energy you radiate is like a signal to the universe saying, "This is what I'm available for." And the universe, or life, or fate, or whatever name you give it, sends you more of the same. Radiate anger and you attract conflict. Radiate doubt and you attract situations that test your confidence. But if you radiate belief, you start meeting people who open doors. If you radiate gratitude, life begins to show you more reasons to be thankful. If you carry peace within you, even chaotic situations begin to lose their grip on your emotions. This is why mindset is so critical, not just for your internal growth, but for your external outcomes. The world doesn't respond to what you wish for, it responds to what you expect. And expectations come from your dominant thoughts. You can't think negatively all day and expect your life to feel positive. You can't carry resentment and expect love. You can't radiate insecurity and attract opportunity. Life reflects back what you broadcast. You don't have to fake positivity. This isn't about pretending to be happy or denying reality. It's about being intentional with the energy you choose to embody. It's about recognizing that you are constantly setting the tone for how life interacts with you. Start with your inner state. Raise the quality of your thoughts. Speak with purpose. Move with intention. Surround yourself with ideas, people, and environments that lift you up, and soon you'll start seeing that your outer world begins to match the quality of your inner world. This isn't about control. It's about alignment. Align your mind, your words, and your actions with the energy of the life you want to live. Choose faith over fear. Choose vision over doubt. Choose to radiate strength even when things are uncertain. Because the moment you shift your inner world, your outer world will eventually reflect it. You attract what you radiate, so radiate powerfully, radiate wisely, radiate from a place of belief, gratitude, clarity, and purpose, and watch as life responds in kind. Killing negative thoughts is not a one-time event. It is a daily discipline. It requires conscious effort, consistent practice, and an unshakable commitment to mental mastery. Your mind, left untrained, will naturally drift toward fear, doubt, insecurity, and limitation. That's the default setting for most people because it's easy. It's comfortable to complain. It's familiar to worry. It's common to expect the worst. But if you want to live an uncommon life, a life filled with purpose, strength, and peace, then you must train your mind the same way an athlete trains their body. You must become a mental warrior. Negative thoughts do not simply go away because you want them to. You must confront them, interrupt them, replace them. And this process is not automatic. It requires discipline every day. You must watch the gate of your mind and decide what is allowed in and what must be thrown out. Just like you wouldn't let someone dump garbage into your home, you cannot afford to let toxic thoughts take residence in your mind. Yet that's exactly what happens when you live without mental discipline. The garbage piles up, and soon it starts to stink up your entire life, your relationships, your goals, your confidence, your peace. Discipline means catching yourself in the middle of a negative spiral and choosing to redirect your focus. It means noticing when you start telling yourself that you're not good enough and responding with truth, not emotion. It means practicing gratitude when your mind wants to dwell on what's missing. It means speaking faith when your feelings shout fear. This is not easy, but the mind, like any muscle, grows stronger the more you work it. Too often, people treat their thoughts like unchangeable facts, when in reality, they are choices. You don't have to believe every fearful idea that pops into your head. You don't have to repeat the same negative patterns just because they feel familiar. You can interrupt them. You can challenge them. But it takes discipline. It takes the willingness to stop running on autopilot and take the wheel. Mental discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about being aware of your inner dialogue and refusing to let it be run by past wounds, external noise, or temporary emotions. It's about creating new mental habits, habits of hope, clarity, strength, and direction. Just as someone trains themselves to wake up early or stick to a workout routine, you must train your mind to reject what weakens you and embrace what empowers you. It might feel unnatural at first, even exhausting. But over time, the process becomes easier. The thoughts that once dominated you lose their power. The internal noise begins to quiet. You find yourself responding to life instead of reacting. You begin to walk with a sense of stability that doesn't shake every time things go wrong. That's the reward of discipline. Not perfection, but control. Not silence, but strength. Negative thoughts will always try to creep back in. They will test your focus, your self-worth, your vision. But with discipline, you no longer get pulled under. You recognize them for what they are: uninvited, unhelpful, and untrue. And you dismiss them with the confidence of someone who has trained for this moment. You can't wait for the day when you feel like being positive. That day may never come. You have to decide to think better every day, no matter what. That is the cost of freedom. That is the price of a powerful life. So stand guard at the door of your mind and choose discipline, because it is the weapon that destroys the enemy of negative thinking. Positive thinking is often misunderstood. Some people mistake it for denial, for pretending that everything is perfect when it clearly isn't. They label it as delusion, as if those who choose to think positively are simply lying to themselves. But in truth, positive thinking is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to focus on the parts of reality that give you strength. It's not about avoiding problems, but about facing them with a mindset that creates progress instead of paralysis. Positive thinking is not a fantasy. It is a form of mental construction. It is building brick by brick a foundation of thoughts that support growth, resilience, and purpose. When you think positively, you're not saying everything is fine. You're saying, no matter what happens, I will find a way forward. That mindset alone changes how you approach every situation. It doesn't guarantee an easy path, but it increases your chances of success by keeping you focused, energized, and creative in the face of challenges. A positive mind sees possibilities where a negative mind sees limitations. It notices doors where others only see walls. And because of that, it builds new habits, new relationships, new outcomes. Delusion is when you ignore problems. Positive thinking is when you acknowledge them but choose to believe in solutions. It is a decision to direct your mental energy toward hope rather than despair, toward courage rather than fear, toward action rather than helplessness. This doesn't mean you'll always feel confident. It means you train your mind to work for you, not against you, especially when things are hard. Most people don't understand how much of their life is shaped by what they believe. If you believe things will never change, you won't try to change them. If you believe you don't deserve better, you won't pursue better. But when you think positively, when you believe improvement is possible, your behavior begins to reflect that belief. You take more chances. You learn from failure instead of quitting. You persevere because you see purpose. You grow because you allow your mind to work as a partner, not a prison. Positive thinking also impacts your relationships, your health, and your overall quality of life. People who choose to think positively tend to attract more support, solve problems more efficiently, and bounce back quicker from adversity. This isn't accidental. It's because they've trained their minds to look for light even when things feel dark. That habit alone creates momentum that negativity simply cannot replicate. Some may call this wishful thinking. But the truth is, the most powerful builders in history, the inventors, the leaders, the creators, all started with belief. They believed something better was possible before the evidence existed. They constructed their reality through vision, persistence, and a refusal to surrender to hopelessness. That's not delusion. That's design. You have the same power. You can choose the blueprint of your thinking. You can construct thoughts that give life rather than drain it. You can break free from the cycle of doubt and pessimism and begin building a mindset that supports you, guides you, and empowers you. Positive thinking is not about having no problems. It's about building the strength and perspective to grow through them. It's about creating a mental space where you can rise, rebuild, and reach higher, no matter what life throws your way. When you understand that, you stop seeing positive thinking as a weakness, and you begin to see it for what it truly is, a powerful tool for transformation, progress, and peace. In conclusion, your thoughts are not just fleeting ideas. They are the foundation of your reality. Every negative thought you allow to grow becomes a barrier between you and the life you deserve. But every time you choose faith over fear, clarity over confusion, and action over hesitation, you take a step closer to freedom. Killing negative thinking is not about ignoring challenges. It's about rising above them with a mindset that builds instead of breaks. When you discipline your mind, when you radiate strength, when you refuse to be controlled by fear or doubt, life begins to open up. Problems become stepping stones. Setbacks become lessons. You begin to attract better because you have become better. Remember, the journey toward a powerful life doesn't begin with changing your circumstances. It begins with changing your mind. Make that decision today, and everything else will follow.